Show. What's in your cup?
Whole lot of everything, ladies and gentlemen, and I mean a whole lot of everything. You heard me? It's the Kickback Show. TheKickbackShow.com. Welcome to the best thing that ever happened to your entire life, at all times and any time. I go by the name of Foz, and she is.
What's up, y'all? As always, it's your girl Tiana Giovanna, and he is
DJ Swivel. Anything less would be unswivelized, and I gotta say that I'm not really appreciating the heat wave that I feel like is starting to kick up here in Southern California, but I am appreciating this heat wave of this going on in the music industry right now. Because
brother, let me tell you what.
Yeah.
Shout out to Organic Blackberry. Listen, brother, I'm loving everything that has come out this year. Hasn't disappointed, at least everything that I've heard. And I'm showing love to Tyler, the Creator, Ben Staples. Who am I missing? Even singles like, shout out to the Baby Keem Kendrick record.
Right.
Shout out to Isaiah Rashad, the new Nas. Like, there's been so many incredible bodies of work that have come out that have been different, that have been cutting edge in the sense of, hearing Nas over Hit Boy is almost like everything that we didn't know that we needed. And it's like, I think,
right?
Yeah, and truth be told, like I remember being younger, in my teens or whatever, and always trying to piece together artists that I love that weren't ever on a record. Like, damn, I wonder why. And this is before I really understood the music industry and labels, contracts, yada yada yada.
Right.
It's like, damn, like when is Luda and Exhibit gonna do a record together?
Right.
You know what I mean? When can I hear so and so and so and so do a record? DJ Quick with so and so. You know what I mean? And the fact that we now have Nas, who I feel as though has always had this dark cloud over his head, right? When it comes to his career, to now really get the love and appreciation, to get a Grammy, you know what I mean? And for him to jump coast, it's like, damn, like, why did this happen sooner? You know what I mean? Like, granted, everything in due time, but it's so amazing to see a lot of these artists be exactly that, be artists, and be daring, be different, and say, hey, I'm gonna do exactly the opposite of whatever is popular right now.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Who did I miss? Who else dropped?
Didn't J. Cole drop this year?
J. Cole dropped.
Yeah. And Quiet as Kept, Fashion, the homie
project.
Fashion, Fresno native, like he dropped an album just recently. I haven't had a chance to live with it yet, but I heard one of like the lead singles off the album. And if the rest of the album is like the lead single, oh boy.
Yeah, buddy. Shout out to the Horsemen as well. My brother Corrupt, my brother who we've actually had on the show, Rascast, also Cannabis, and why am I forgetting his name? Please forgive me. Killer Priest.
Killer Priest, yeah.
They are a collective that, over the years have put out bodies of music. Things didn't necessarily go as scheduled and planned, but for them to kind of give it one last hurrah to say, you know what, we ain't got nothing to lose. Let's just, finish this up and put it together. And it be an incredible body of work. I had opportunity to listen to a lot of it even before it dropped, which was like definitely an honor, man. And great body of music.
And Problem's got like a little EP too right now, right?
Man, I'm sleep. Man,
Common is dropping one soon too.
Yeah.
Common's dropping one soon, which sounds dope because his whole thing was the concept behind his new album is supposed to be like positivity, like what's the next step in moving forward. So that's kind of what he's got going on. So I'm excited for that too.
Shout out to Division and Ty Dolla $ign's joint album as well. Definitely some baby making music, like in that vibe. Like, trust me, if you looking to get a post-quarantine pregnancy going, that's the route to go. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's gonna be.
Well, it's not necessarily post-quarantine because we still low-key kind of in it.
We're in it. We're in it.
We're still in the pandemic, but we ain't locked down. You know what I'm saying? Like, these girls is outside.
I thoroughly appreciate Silk Sonic too.
Yes. Bruno
Mars and Anderson .Paak, like that. That's the vibe I needed for summer. Like, it's so perfect.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
It
and
really
I'm glad that we're talking about this because I know far too often there's the narrative and conversation of there's nothing good that's out. You know what I mean? And it's really like, no, you just have to be one, open-minded, two. Yeah, you have to be right. It's like go dig and search for something different. Like, get outside of what's fed to you. You know what I mean? Like,
I feel like with the advent of like Spotify's and the titles of the world, that like there's no excuse for you to not know musically what's happening. Like I'm a Spotify person and it literally has release radar. Like, this just came out. Based on what you listen to, you've got this, and this joint waiting. And I love that it suggests new artists that I hadn't heard of before, who are like a little more up and coming, which I think is dope. But you have no excuse. The only excuse you have is if you're one of those people who just listens to the radio, and then that's your fault. That's your fault.
But I think it's deeper than that too. And I 1000% agree. In addition to that, it's those that are stuck in their environment. You know what I mean? And don't want to listen. They choose not to listen to anything else. Or, you know, it's the whole like, nah, that's weird. You know what I mean? It's just like, no, that's just what you don't want to hear. You know what I mean? Like, you prefer to listen to whatever it is that you listen to according to whatever your friends are on or whatever you want to be or whatever you are. I mean, I don't know if necessarily drug dealers are listening to drug dealer music. Pretty sure they probably listen to Beethoven. You know what I'm saying? Or,
I think drug dealer music is specifically made for white suburban teenagers named Chad these days.
Absolutely.
I'm quite positive that those
Connors, the Connors of the world.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like
they probably listening to like Doja Cat and Katy Perry and
who the drug dealers.
The drug dealers.
It's a mix of that and Mozart. Like there is no in between.
Yeah, they probably listen to like Vicente Fernandez and like Miles Davis. It's probably all super peaceful. You know what I mean?
Taylor Swift, you know.
Yeah. I can only imagine. That's
like,
fun.
What is it? Like Terry and White Girls? Making my way downtown.
Yeah.
Like that's what they listen to. Exactly. Terry Crews. Oh my gosh, that's funny.
That's comedy. But yeah, man, it's a lot. And I'm really excited for what is to come. You know what I'm saying? Like, we still waiting on music from Drake. I know Kendrick said that he has one more coming out. Baby Keem is on its way. You know, and yeah, man, I'm excited. Like, I'm really excited.
Drake, did Certified Lover Boy drop already?
No, it's scheduled to drop this weekend.
Oh, okay. That's what it was. Because they weren't sure, because Kanye had pushed his record or his release date back so many times. They were like, is Certified Lover Boy gonna drop before Kanye?
Right.
And can we talk about this beefless beef? Can we talk about this vegan beef that they got going on right now?
It's impossible meat beef.
It's impossible meat.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Let's get into the
This is so dumb.
beef. Listen, I'm a firm believer, and I think I've mentioned this on the show years ago, that 50 Cent helped Kanye to become much more of a grandiose marketer. You know what I'm saying? Like, Kanye was already in his George Bush doesn't care about black people. I'm going to speak my mind. I'm wild and crazy. But then I feel like that took him so far, right? Like you get to a certain plateau. After his whole stint with 50, I feel like it took him up to let him know, yo, there's layers to this manufacturing of entertainment, which a lot of people fail to realize. You know what I'm saying? Because then after,
it is.
And people fail to realize, like, you know, 50 is a big troll. You know what I mean? He knows how to sell a product, right?
Yeah.
But then it's like, we all knew that the whole, you know, beef between 50 and Kanye was manufactured, but then it's like, look at the outcome. You had literally the best weekend in hip hop with as far as sales are concerned. You had two very prominent artists that came out and damn near went platinum on the same day. That's never been done. You know what I mean? They become household names, front page of newspapers, front page of magazines such as Rolling Stone, Time, like, they're everywhere. You know what I mean? They're on Good Day America. Like, it's literally, you can't avoid them. And we get amazing music. You know what I'm saying? So you fast forward to Kanye doing the Taylor Swift shit, doing all this other performative things that, although, you know, I don't know the sincerity behind it, but it's like the grand scheme of it all is to sell a product, right? I know that there is some sort of tension or internal whatever that may exist between each of the opposing camps. But at the end of the day, it's like,
I don't think it's
let's make, like, we making money.
Yeah.
And I mean, even bad publicity is good publicity. You know what I mean? Because now everybody, you know, this album literally put him in the #1 spot, which I think he now has the record of top, like, #1 top Billboard 200 something album releases and everything.
Who does?
Which
Kanye?
it's like, bro, like, Kanye. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I just think it's funny, like, with this impossible meat beef. And, like, to me, at least, you know, from my understanding, like, a lot of it just kind of started with, like, other people outside of the camp just kind of jumping to conclusions based off of, like, tweets or whatever. And then you got guys, like, within, like, Kanye's camp, like Consequence, you know, making a comment, you know, then next people, like, you know, making comments or like, you know, making comments, like, on Instagram posts and things like that. And then, you know, Pusha T comes back, and then, like, Kanye jumps in. And for me, it seemed like, oh, like, once the ball sort of got rolling with outside forces, then Kanye's like, oh, here's an opportunity for me to now insert myself into whatever is bubbling and make it snowball. And then, like you said, go right back to the whole 50 Kanye situation. Because that's immediate. Like, once Kanye tweeted the picture of the Joker.
Address?
Before that, like, when he tweeted the picture of the Joker or texted or whatever, or somehow,
I think it was tweeted.
Like, well, really, what that stems from, apparently, the part of the verse that Drake recorded on Trippie Redd's album, right? So, but even
the verse, because that's another thing to my earlier point, like, where it seems like a lot of people sort of jumping to conclusions. Because to me, the lyrics on that verse, because a lot of people immediately started talking about it, and when I heard the lyrics, I'm like, I feel like this is a little bit of a reach or a stretch to call this a diss to
I think
Kanye.
And then when was it recorded was my initial thought. Like, that could have been a verse that they were sitting on for a year and a half, 2 years.
Right.
Ain't no telling when he sent that verse over. You know what I mean? It was waiting for an album to drop or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? And that may have been right before the whole Pusha T Drake whole conflict. Yeah. You know what I mean? It may have just been on some, like, yo, like, it ain't really anything. But then again, it's I think it's brilliant that the artist can look at what society is doing and saying, and then jump on it and say, you know what, let me run with this. Let me go with this. If everybody is thinking that this is directed towards me, then let's amp this up. You know what I mean? Like, let's turn this up. Let's turn the heat all the way up, because what other, what's a better way to get all eyes on me?
And that's why I feel like Kanye, that's when Kanye like kind of inserted himself into the narrative. And that's why I feel like he just kind of saw this as like, oh, this is a golden opportunity for me to, like you said, ramp this thing up. And because now the moment I say something, everybody's like, well, they're at it. Yeah. Let's see what happens next.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, oh no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think it's ironic how a lot of people think it's real on top of that.
Yeah, because for me, I'm like, how many text messages are going back and forth on the side between like a Drake and Kanye, or like how many times were Kanye and 50 just like chatting on the phone, like, I'm gonna say this, now you say that. Yeah, like
laughing to the bank. Laughing to the bank.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. You know? But I'm gonna give the unpopular opinion so far is Donda to me is okay. It's okay. Now, that being said, I haven't lived with it for any period of time. It just dropped today. Or I'm sorry, it dropped Sunday. And so I haven't lived with it because I'm one of those people, like, I'm old school. Like I have to like put it in and like listen, like really listen to it and really vibe with it. I'm like halfway through and I'm only feeling like immediately off jump, like I'm only vibing with like 2 tracks so far. Now I will say I haven't really been on Team Kanye since like The Life of Pablo. Like his stuff just has not been resonating with me lately. Like I don't know what frequency he's on, but like since then, since like pre-Trump Kanye, I was vibing with. Post-Trump Kanye and post-Kim Kanye, meh.
Well, I mean, Life of Pablo is Kim. That's Kim.
But that was beginning Kim.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was early Kim.
That was before the full effect of the Kardashian snitch reality show like rubbed off onto Kanye and like influenced him in that regard. Like, yeah, because that was they got married in. Okay, so they got married in 2014. Pablo was in 2016. That was that was still early stages Kim. He wasn't fully broken yet.
They only had one kid at that point?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
He wasn't in the sunken place yet.
He was on his way though. He was on the road. I think when he made Life of Pablo, he had stopped like and taken a rest break. Gone to the bathroom, had some lunch. That was Life of Pablo, and then he hopped right back on the road.
And you know that's how, or he was on his way to the sunken place, because that was the. Correct me if I'm wrong. That was the unfinished album, right? That was the album that came out on Tidal, and it wasn't done yet, and just he gave this
and then it was supposed to be
product.
But I think that was the theme. It was supposed to be like an evolving album, like
Yeah, but it was a disaster. like,
but dude. I mean, so my thing is, like, I was all like, I can't say that I've always been on the Kanye train, only because of the introduction. Y'all know that I'm anti-hype. Like, don't come to me with some, this is the greatest thing ever, you gotta listen, because my expectations are high now. And that's what it's been from day one. I remember when 808 and Heartbreaks, when he dropped Love Lockdown, and working at Power, Mondo came in the studio, you heard the new Kanye? Bro, it's the dopest thing ever, blah, 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 blah. And then I listened and I'm just like, okay, it's dope, it's cool, but it's not what you pumped it up to be. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just this stopping the entire world type of project, right? But I've always respected his brilliance and what he's brought to the table. Also, I do a great job at not coming in with preconceived ideas. So by no means do I say, oh, I'm expecting this to be better than whatever, Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, right? So for me, I appreciate it because of, number one, the rollout, like the visuals of him doing the live, like listening thing and bringing in the audience, and it being a very performative, theatrical type of presentation. I feel as though with all of his projects, they literally shift the way that we either consume, absorb, or
interact.
Create music. You know what I mean? Like, and you go through it all, it's like, well, shit, the first album was everybody was doing snap music, and you came out talking about insecurities and wanting to look fly, but not having it all, right? Like, and everybody being insecure, Second album was very musical, you know what I'm saying? And it was like big, it was very cinematic. The third one was almost like a step up from that, but it was also like, let me show you how to become international. Then it was a complete 180 of, I'm going to change my whole entire everything and have a mullet, you know what I mean? And be on some like very emo type shit, just to then 180 again and be like, okay, I'm going to bring all the musicality back, but make it dark and have undertones and paint and illustrate this incredible picture that you're familiar with, but make it different, right?
But that's also on the heels of the loss of his mom too.
Yeah.
And that was on the heels of it. And you know what I mean? Like in a very, very different place, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, clearly that was the season of, I was about to say Pam Grier, but Amber Rose, being with Amber Rose and like, probably a very fun time, for us to experience as a consumer. But it was like, clearly it was, like I'm dealing with a lot of trauma. I'm not in a good place. You know what I mean? To then turn around and drop something like Jesus, which is, you know what? Fuck everything. I'm going to strip it all down, give you some basic shit, show you I really don't give a fuck, but also show you that there are narratives that people aren't touching on, i.e., I am a god.
Right.
But y'all want me to still be a broke nigga from the hood. New slave, you know what I mean? Like, still addressing issues and situations, having a Nina Simone sample, to then turn around and do a Life of Pablo, where again, it's like, here we are constantly evolving with this thing to a gospel album, to you know what I mean? But like, hey, I'm bipolar, let me embrace this. This is what's happening, but I'm still a genius, to now, right? To where it's like, we've gone on this journey. And it may seem like it, like, for me, the album doesn't necessarily seem as cohesive as a beautiful, dark, twisted fantasy. But then it's also, I'm going to give you pieces of, again, Jesus, dark, twisted fantasy, Life of Pablo. I'm going to mesh it all together to show you, hey, here is something different. Here's something that's another movie that you're not accustomed to.
Right.
While also introducing you to other artists that you probably had no idea existed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
and I think it's beautiful.
With this drop, he's dropping a stem player to go hand in hand with Donda for like, it's I think $200. It's a little music gadget that lets you kind of like remix and play with like the levels and basically, like remix his album. I'm interested to see where that goes.
That's a different version of what he tried to do with the Life of Pablo. Now he's kind of putting it in the hands of the consumer to be able to, which is dope for DJs and producers to be able to access, the album like that and, tweak the instrumentation or like, put their own beats to his lyrics or what have you. Like that's pretty dope
brilliant.
to allow the consumer to be creative with your product.
Absolutely.
Which
and bring them into
I will
the
not take away the marketing genius of Kanye. Like he definitely is always giving you something different. And I was one of those people who like when he dropped in 2003, 4 with like his very first like like I was on it. I was like, yes, Kanye is dope. I'm all about it. And I have never been a Drake fan, right? So I'm like, He is what he is. He's very commercial. He makes, you know, music that you can shake your butt to and bob your head to, but there's no depth to it. And I'm one of those people, like, I like depth to my music. And Drake is very just surface commercial. This sounds good. This feels good. Just ride with it, right?
Yeah.
But I think that speaks to the production of his music more so than him as an artist. Like, I think I like his producers more than I like him as an artist. Like, I just feel like he just has the right team versus like him. But like, so far I'm disappointed. I'm gonna be so disappointed if I find myself liking Drake's album.
I feel like you have with you living with Kanye and really, and I think a good perspective as well, and a lot of what I'm taking from it too is bigger than the music, right? It's, yeah, he's talking his shit, and there's only so much that he can say now that the everyday person can relate to. You're a multi-billionaire at this point. I don't live your life. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't relate to you the way that I did early on, right? But you have Larry Hoover Jr. on your album. Clearly, you're talking about your mother, right? But then you're also doing little subtle things to create not just controversy, but conversation, right? Mm-hmm. Something as simple as his last performance, like having Marilyn Manson on the stage with you, having the baby on the stage with you, right? Yeah. You claiming to be a Christian, right? And then like having all of these subliminal like symbols and symbolism, and like really playing with. I mean, like, and the thing is like, what are you trying to tell us? Like, what are you saying in that, right? Like, what are you saying by having them? Is it a marketing scheme? Or is it, hey, everybody makes mistakes. Can we find a way to forgive them? You say you're a Christian, are you listening to what I'm saying? Because like, clearly
we see, you know, you made a gospel album, you say you're a Christian, but like we see on the shirt, like the Star of David, which is Jewish. I mean, there's actually deeper than that. It's a star tetrahedron, but that, I mean, with the cross in the middle, like, so there's more to it. But then, like you said, conversation, having Kim Kardashian come out in a wedding dress, like,
right. It's a lot. I think it's a lot deeper. It's like, we dealt with a lot of separation for the last 4 years, or at least the social divide has made itself very prominent within the last 4 years, right? To where we, you know, you Republican, you support so-and-so, you blah, blah, blah. But it's like at the end of it all, if we can put that all aside and just talk. I mean, for centuries, same thing, religion has always been separate, right? Everything is a divide. So, you know, I was mentioning to a coworker here, you know, I think it's beautiful that you offer yourself as a sacrificial lamb to get scrutiny, to get criticized, to get all of that, right? For a greater good of, here's what I'm doing. Yes, you may not have agreed with my political views if that's what he was true to, right? But I was in the Oval Office fighting for this reform or fighting for this. You know what I mean? Yeah, I may get criticized, that y'all can say whatever you want for me having the baby on stage, but it's like there's an opportunity for growth. There's an opportunity to educate and to embrace versus this whole cancel culture. You know what I mean? And yeah, granted, it may be applied and deployed, you know, the whole goal is to sell records, but then it's like, what else is being said?
I agree, but at the same time, my question is, how effective is your message if your message is so cryptic that so many people are not, it's gonna go over so many people's heads?
Here's my response. And I always say this in the studio, right? When I work with artists. Yeah. You can take a white canvas and just take this black paint and just put a line in whatever direction. People are going to interpret it whatever way that they want. Yeah. You know what I mean? Some people, oh, this is trash. Oh, this is always so beautiful, the contrast. Oh, he's the anger that was done in this. Oh, the peace. Yeah. Oh, the twinkle. You know what I mean? Like, so there's so many different things, and I feel as though this concept comes from the movie The Watchmen. If you were able to sacrifice 1 million to save 3 billion, would you do it? And it seems like a very extreme type of concept, because it's like, well, I don't want to lose anybody, but it's like, if you are doing something for a greater good, if I'm willing to get lost to a selective few in order to reach the greater good. And at the end of the day, I may be overthinking this, I may be overanalyzing. This is just what I'm taking from it, right?
Yeah.
And others may just look at it as face value, but then it's like, well, what happens when other people they get it, whether it's 2 years from now, 5, 10, whatever, you know?
But I feel like it's the opposite, because let's be honest, common sense is not common. Critical thinking is not something that many people do on a regular basis. So I feel like, I agree with your analogy, but I feel like in Kanye's situation, it's the opposite, because it's not like 1 million people don't get what you're saying, but 3 billion people do. It's like 3 billion people are completely missing the message, and maybe 1 million people might get it. And so that's why I'm saying, like, how much good are you really doing if your message is so cryptic and you're so artistically thinking out of the box that anyone who's inside the box, which is, let's be honest, the vast majority of especially Americans, you're only reaching the other people outside of the box.
I think in that regard, where what ends up happening is, like, Kanye sometimes gets lost in his own ability / skill to say something wild, outlandish, outside the box, but without, like, making it comprehensible to everybody. And because I've had, I don't know how many conversations with people to explain to them, like, I've seen and experienced a different side of Kanye in person. You know, if he says something that's like, that has shock value and it starts conversations, like, it's done on purpose, because it like Boz said earlier, it generates a conversation.
Yeah.
It gets a buzz going to, you know, sell a shoe, sell an album or whatever. But sometimes, especially after the passing of his mom and getting into a relationship with a reality TV star, like, sometimes your method starts becoming compromised, and you're so quick to say something with shock value that you didn't necessarily present it in a way that has shock value, but also, like, explains and makes it gets your point across. Like, when people said, when Kanye said, I feel like, you know, slavery was a choice, everyone lost their freaking mind. It's like, yo, how could you say that? You know, you not down with black people, you're not for the culture, whatever they said. But then when you go and listen to his interview with, I think it was Charlemagne the God, after that TMZ situation, he clarified exactly what he meant. Mm-hmm. And but you know, most people aren't going to take the time to, like, follow up and get those other added interviews to get that breakdown.
I feel as though it's the opposite, right? So I feel as though he says it plain, people don't listen. Then it's like, well, here's the shock, right? And then let me go back and revisit it, okay? And so I know that, you know, we talked about this over the weekend about, like, you know, his narrative is almost a Da Vinci Code, to where you have to kind of go back and piece together little things. And, you know, slavery was a choice is really a continuation of this conversation that he had in this interview over here, right? But when you listen to the music, he's saying it, you know what I mean? Right. Like, the whole slave thing, he painted that out on Jesus. You know, right. the song New Slaves, like, we're a slave to everything. Then you listen to the interview, and it was exactly that. Like, everybody is a slave to something. We're slaves to designers. You know, we're slaves to retail. We're slaves to doing this. We become a slave to our job. We become a slave, like, we're all we're not independent thinkers.
Right.
Let's get outside of the idea of working to help somebody else to do what they can benefit from, and they're building their passion, and invest a lot of that into ourselves. Right? Let's start relying on everything else. And so then it's like you take that whole mentality and you start to unpack it. Then you start getting you start getting comments like slavery was a choice. Well, we know that the grand scheme of it is, yes, we were stolen Africans that got brought over here against our will. We understand that.
Right.
But at what point did we start to gain the Stockholm syndrome? At what point did, are we considering that everybody that was there decided, in slavery, decided that it was better to be on a plantation than to be free, some slaves got killed because it was like, look, the game plan. You're not trying to be a part of this mission. We got to take you out because we don't want you going back and leaking all the details. Right. You know what I'm saying? Or some of y'all are choosing, you have the information, you make it more modern, right? We have this information. We know how to live better, but y'all are choosing to go do X, Y, and Z. We know the steps, like it's all painted out. We see it and do it. Right. Y'all are choosing to do this. Y'all are choosing to go support these corporations that really don't give a damn about you. Y'all are choosing to do that. Yeah. You're choosing to be a slave. You know what I mean? Like you're choosing to be a slave to these designer companies that are showing you directly in your face they don't give a damn about. This is what they think about you. Yeah. And you still choose them over supporting your neighbor that has a startup business with great quality, great product, but you still going over there.
Yep.
He says something outrageous like Harriet Tubman really didn't free the slaves. She actually just led them to go be workers, blah, blah, blah. You're not lying. You know what I'm saying? And again, you go back and listen. If you listen to the music, and granted, yes, to you and Tiana's point, it becomes very exhausting, to the average mind that doesn't want to piece things together or isn't really thinking for themselves, because, just hearing something like that is how you just turn it off immediately. You know what I mean? And attention spans, it gets deep. But it's like, you're not lying. You're not, you know what I'm saying? It's just lost in the context.
Right. Yeah.
But again, I think it goes back to my theory of being a sacrificial lamb. I'm going to sacrifice me as a person. I'm putting aside my ego. I'm going to just say what I want, despite how outrageous it is. I'm going to get all the attention to spark a conversation, hoping that at least somebody talks about whatever it is that I'm saying.
Yeah.
It brings me more business, puts money in my pocket. I benefit from it, but then it's also like, okay, grand scheme really is to open up minds, make people think for you. Are you thinking for yourself?
Well, I mean, he's not necessarily being a sacrificial lamb if he's not suffering any, negative consequences for it. Like we see, like he's still been able to, increase his wealth substantially.
But I think but a lot of that comes from everything else, right? Like the brand in general. You know what I'm saying? As far as the music is concerned, it's like people are listening for several different reasons, but then they criticize it. Oh, this is trash. We want the old Kanye. You know what I mean? So it's more of I guess the sacrificial lamb aspect is really his image. You know what I'm saying? Kanye is trash. Kanye is this. We miss the old Kanye. Kanye will never be the same. Kanye, blah, 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 right? But then like you talk about him so much, you have your hardcore fan base that's going to buy your shoes. They're going to buy your merchandise. You know what I mean? They go into the Gap to buy, you literally revitalized a dying brand. One day you used to work at it and claim that you stole from, you know what I mean, as a struggling, starving kid, you know what I'm saying, just, for whatever reason. But it's like now you came back and you've literally brought them out of the dirt to make their stock rise exponentially. I'm wearing them right now. I got on shorts right now. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, goofy shit. But it's like, it's one of the things to where it's like, no, like the overall brand may not necessarily suffer, but you ultimately lose in other aspects. You know what I'm saying? Whether it be somebody that may have liked you that no longer subscribes or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I may lose, again, it goes back to, I may lose 1 million followers or people that love me, but what did I gain?
Right.
You know? So yeah. Yeah, I mean, I highly doubt that I would listen to a Drake album. I don't think I'm gonna listen to Certified Lover Boy and say, yo, this is the most incredible, it's transcending, this is just an altered, this is changing music. I don't think that that's gonna happen, you know what I mean? But I do expect a great body of work, you know, as he always, you know, they construct.
Yeah, I mean,
they construct their music for him.
He's consistent.
Like Tiana's, you know, earlier point, like he's got the right team around him in terms of, you know, producers and marketing, and the dude knows how to write hit records.
I don't know if he's writing them.
Well, somebody in his camp knows how to write hit records. And you know, that will get significant radio play to, you know, generate the sales that he's looking for.
He's gonna get significant radio play on GP.
Yeah, but I mean, and again, like he plays the game in terms of, you know, targeting the right demographic to be successful, and that's all it is. Like, you know, there's nothing special about Drake's format. Like, you know.
Yeah, which is why you gotta respect Kanye and this whole rollout. And, you know, it's almost like the light meets the dark this week with music. You know what I'm saying? You got the pop artist that meets the Sauvignon Blanc, you know.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, it's definitely good times in the music industry. I know there was also the little wowzer of people like being shocked to hear Kendrick is doing his last album for TDE, and what exactly does that?
Yeah, what does that mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, we've seen it before. You know, artists like, you know, this is my last album on such and such label, but, you know, at least in the past, all it meant was, you know, they put out their next album on their own label, still under, you know, the umbrella of whatever label they were previously
I'm just
on.
building my own brand.
Exactly.
And he definitely has the weight to do it.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Like I love the fact that I fell in love with Baby Keem as an artist, just to later on find out that he's related to Kendrick. You know what I mean? That they're cousins. Like, it's absolutely phenomenal. I'm interested to see how Kendrick builds a brand, kind of almost similar to what J. Cole has done with Dreamworld. You know what I mean? It has like a plethora of artists that's under, you know, that's kind of under this umbrella, and being able to allow them to flourish and thrive and all of that.
Well, you know, it's again, like, you know, we've seen the playbook before, right? Like 50 Cent comes out and it's, you know, it's G Unit, and then all the members of G Unit, all like, you know, under, and that was on the heels of Eminem. So 50 Cent got G Unit Records, but it's under Shady, which is under Aftermath, like
Aftermath, which is under Interscope, which is under Universal.
Right, like it's, you know, it's nothing new, but, you know, like to your point, maybe this is Kendrick's way of making sure his blood relative is like set and secure, and nobody can really tamper with anything, you know, from a label perspective.
Yeah, and I appreciate the fact that Punch, you know, kind of doubled down on the message and said, like, don't jump out the window. Like, it's all family. This is, you know, there's been conversations. I don't want y'all thinking that there's turmoil. Like, this was a you know, this is a collaborative effort. Like he has all the love, support, and resources from the family. You know what I'm saying? It's just, you know, I think people fail to realize that we grow as individuals, you know, especially when you're an artist and you have this, you know, you have to take an accountability and responsibility, you know, for your art and craft and all of that. But then also like you're indebted to your fan base. You know what I'm saying? Like, have you dropped one bad project that or something that doesn't live up to expectations from your audience, and now you consider it old and washed up, or I'm not listening no more. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like
you
after
fell
a
off.
while, it's like, okay,
You don't have your ear to the streets, like
like you lost. Oh, he ain't got it no more. He's been gone for 2. You know, it's like, look, bro. Like I got a family. I have, you know, I'm trying to build a home. I'm trying to, you know, establish more than what y'all actually see. Y'all don't see all the contributions to my community and how I'm building outside of the limelight. You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't want to have to keep up with all of this bullshit for y'all, you know what I mean? For your lack of understanding, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's a heavy, you know, this message resonated because it's like, look, it's so much that I'm going through right now and I still have to create. It's like, look, I want to be able to relax when I want to. I don't want to have to always feel like I have to be on the go.
And to that point, like, you know, everybody's different. Like, you know, Kendrick could very well just be like, you know what, I'm dealing with something right now personally, or I'm just like focusing on taking care of the family and laying low, sort of being behind the scenes, so to speak, versus the Eminem who put all of his stuff out on record. You know, like, this is what I'm going through with my family. This is what I'm dealing with my daughter. Like, this is, you know, this is the frustration I get when I'm just trying to be out with my daughter, like, and feed her. And like, I got these, you know, crazy fans coming up and just interrupting my quality time. Like, you know, where he vented and expressed all that on records, you know, to, you know.
And this is just pure speculation too. I feel like it also kind of takes a lot of pressure off of his fellow label mates, right? Like, because when Isaiah Rashad, who has an incredible album, you know what I mean, he drops, so they start teasing his album. It's like the entire, at least on Twitter, a lot of the feedback was, you know, oh, I'm hoping it's Kendrick. Where's Kendrick? Where's Kendrick? Where's Kendrick? And it's just like, bro, there's so many other artists. You know, you're not checking for Zakari, you know, Lance Skywalker, Isaiah Rashad, SZA, J-Rock, Ab-Soul, Schoolboy. Like, there's a full entire roster. You know, I think they just signed somebody else, but it's like, there's a whole roster. Like, y'all not, like, what are we doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, you overshadowing by going on there and tweeting that. You have every right to, you know what I'm saying? But it's unnecessary because it's like, yo, there's other artists that want to eat and want to thrive and that they want to bring attention to. But if all you thinking about it, all you bringing up is one particular artist, which again, is okay, it kind of does everybody else, you know, it's a disservice.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, man. But we're gonna see. I mean, I'm really excited. I think this year is gonna go down in history as like one of those. This is almost like '96, where it was just like every album was just like more monumentous than the next. You know what I'm saying?
Hopefully, like, because the last several years, like, hasn't necessarily like the the monumentous, like, each album like being better than whatever came out prior to it. Like, we haven't seen a lot of that like we did in, you know, some of these early eras. But I'd say, you know, before we move on, let's play a couple of these tracks off this Donda album and then come right back. And
I would say just play the whole album, but that's like 2 hours of just pure screw face. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, let's just get into it. You know what I'm saying? Donda, you're absolutely welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Kickback Show, thekickbackshow.com. Switch. DJ Swivel in the mix.
For new and exclusive music, listen to the Kickback Show. The Kickback Show. What's in your cup?
A whole lot of everything, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We definitely thank y'all for always tuning in, supporting all that good stuff and things. We definitely want to send our loving energy and positivity to everybody that is directly connected to the situation and conflict that's happening in Afghanistan. And I know that this is a conversation that could get really deep. I know that there's a lot of different issues that happen all around the world, and I'm hoping that with what we do on this show, it opens up your hearts and your minds to understanding that the world is bigger than us. And I'm hoping that we not only bring you enlightenment with the different artists and creators that we have on the show, but also opens up your perspective to what's happening around the world. You know, despite where you stand politically, there are certain things that are beyond our comprehension. And by no means ever do I think that should equate to, oppression. Should it equate to death? Should it equate to people having to suffer for basic human rights and privileges, and also sending our hearts and love to everybody that is in New Orleans and Louisiana, or anybody that's affected by the hurricane. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like I know it's tricky. There's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of things, and it's like, there's little things, you know what I mean? Like Haiti just dealt with another earthquake about a month ago, within the last month. Mm-hmm. And it's like, we're arguing about little things when really there are bigger matters at hand that people can, that need our attention, that need our help. You know what I'm saying? Like,
people are getting all freaking butthurt when OnlyFans announces that you can't, put explicit content on their platform anywhere, and then so they go and raise hell only to make OnlyFans reverse their decision. Like, there's bigger things happening that are
porn? There's bigger things than porn.
I mean, it's like, come on, man. Like, this is ridiculous.
I feel like all of the stuff that's happening in the world, between the natural disasters, the man-made disasters, I feel like that's just further evidence that we're in the middle of a paradigm shift. Like, we are definitely moving into a new era. And unfortunately, I feel like it's going to get worse before it gets better, because we're coming to a reckoning. Like, we're having to stare ourselves in the mirror about like what we've done to the climate, and what these wars that we've waged has come to. And I think there's going to be more. I think that there are going to be more hurricanes and fires and earthquakes and and fighting and stuff before there's peace. But I do think there will be peace at some point. But I think that in saying that, we definitely need Faz, as you just did, to continue to just act in love, continue to send out positivity, continue to, ground ourselves and, send positive vibes, because, you never know, like, what the world is going through, but you never know what like dude next door is going through.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
Anytime we can react in kindness, as much as I want to tell someone to go jump off a bridge sometimes, don't do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's what it's all about, right? It's all about finding your inner peace. And like, we know that things are going to happen in life, but it's like, how do we navigate through it? But how do we, just get to a space to where we can coexist peacefully, because that's really all we want. You know what I mean? Despite which side you stand on.
Yeah, that's very, very, very sound advice for all those Karens and Kevins out there. Like, y'all need to find your inner peace, because you catch somebody on the right day at the wrong time, like, they gonna find your inner peace for you.
You're gonna be real peaceful in that hospital bed, except for the beep, beep.
You're gonna they're gonna find your inner peace. They're gonna find you in pieces, or they're gonna find you resting in peace. So,
Yeah. One of those three.
Yeah. So you
Outcome is up to you.
Right.
Yeah, man. It's understand that everything is bigger than you, and I know that a lot of these platitudes aren't necessarily what is needed. You know what I'm saying, in order for the change to happen. But I'm hoping that it inspires somebody to, again, just open your mind. You know what I mean? Like, understand that everything that's fed to us and that's given to us ain't always what a reality is. You know what I'm saying? It may be a portion or a fraction of it, but there's a whole nother reality that may exist on the other side with somebody else. So just be aware of that, be conscious of how you act and how you interact with those that are around you. And just, take that in stride. You feel me? So, and if you have OnlyFans, have a backup plan. You know what I'm saying?
Get a Patreon or something, because you never know.
I mean, Tiana said it. Like, we in a paradigm shift, and it's everything. You know what I mean? It's spiritually, it's emotionally, it's the way that we are consuming everyday things. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not normal anymore. Like, I'm wearing shorts above my knee again. Like, this shit is different. You feel me? Like, you feel me? Like, I'm wearing. I have my life in here now. I don't put things in my pockets anymore. Like, and I know that I'm saying that to be, to kind of lighten up the mood, but it's one of those things to where there is a shift. You know what I mean? There's a shift that's happening, and regardless of whether or not you want it to happen, it's like you have to kind of make those adjustments and go with the change. You know what I'm saying?
You gotta make friends with change.
Gotta adapt. Gotta go to, the only thing that's constant in this life is change, which is one of my favorite oxymorons, paradox, whatever it is, So yeah, with that being said, man, so much love. As always, you can find us at The Kickback Show on everything, thekickbackshow.com. Please holler at us, follow us, share this with a friend, share this with a neighbor, with your loved ones. You know what I'm saying? Put this on repeat. Shout out to the clothing brand and the merchandise. Please support us in every way that you can. You know what I'm saying? All proceeds go into our Black business and to helping us to grow. You know what I'm saying? And don't worry, it's not going to none of this that I got on. All of this that I'm doing comes from the monies that I'm making at where I'm at right now. And it's some really good monies, you know what I'm saying? It's some good monies, work hard, play better. As always, find me at Fives on everything. You can find me at WaveCap Johnny. I am Fives, but find me at WaveCap Johnny on everything. And she is
Tiana Giovanna across the board. You can always also check me out, Guidance for Grown Folks. I just published another journal, or my first journal, I should say. It's going to be a part of I'm doing a simplicity series. So these are just very simple, guided journals for you. Another one, so the first one is just intention and gratitude. And the next one is going to be meditation and mindfulness. So that should be published next week. So keep an eye out for that. Everything is on Amazon. Check it out. Guidance for Grown Folks. And he is
DJ Swivel on Twitter, Swivel on Instagram, SWIVLL.
Sexy Swivel.
There it is. We love y'all. Shout out to Organic Blackberry. And we look forward to seeing y'all again very soon. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Indeed.
Until then, peace.
Deuces.
Don't miss a beat. Kick that beat. Follow us on social media at The Kickback Show. Kickback on everything.